Hi, everyone, and welcome to Atrium's first office hour series. We're just going to give a few minutes to everyone coming in, but if you guys could just send over where you guys are joining from and perhaps your LinkedIn profile so that we can connect all of you guys together in the Atrium community. Awesome. Looks like we have 10 people joining our webinar. Welcome to our first Atrium Office Hour series. You guys are all Atrium customers that have joined this webinar, so we're excited to have you guys here. If you guys could send over in the chat where you're joining from and your LinkedIns, we can start getting you guys connected in the Atrium community. Awesome. Hi, Victoria. Love New York. Grew up in New York. I'm just going to give about 2 more minutes for people to join, and then we're going to get started. Today's topic, as you guys see, is goal setting like a boss. We're going to go through important elements in goal setting, what kind of metrics we're going to choose, what values we should set goals on, and then how to actually keep people accountable for those goals within Atrium. Hi, Joe from New Zealand, long ways away. Excited to have you here. I wonder what time it is over there. Perfect. Oh, wow. Dedicated. Glad to have you in the Atrium community. Definitely getting up at 6:30 to go through goal setting with us. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all your guys' time. Today, I'm Arev, your host for today. I'm a senior CSM on the Atrium team. I might be some of your guys' own CSMs. So I would love the session to be interactive. So continue sending over chats in the chat and send over any comments, questions that you guys have throughout the session, and we'll go from there. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get started with what we're covering today. So today we're going to be covering the different types of metrics goals can be set on, which ones we recommend setting goals on, how to keep your team accountable, and how to actually track that goal and attainment. Then we'll have a quick Q&A session and wrap up from there. Perfect. So a question that I have for you guys is, we all know that goals are important, but from your perspective, what do you guys see as important for goals? If you can just chat that over and I'll read out some of the responses. So what I would love to know from you guys is why goals are important to you and your organization. If you have any ideas, just chat them over in the chat. So a lot of us this past month have made some resolutions with the New Year's coming in, and it's not surprising that 80% of people actually abandon their New Year's resolutions by February. And I would argue that this is due to not having incremental goals as milestones set. And the reason why these goals are important is having stepping stones to your actual end vision is pretty important. So having specific booking numbers set can be, for example, for sales managers, can be pretty overwhelming, but with not enough guidance on how to actually reach those goals. So having and stepping stones of okay, these are the amount of meetings that will get us there, or the amount of contacts that can be touched, can be very helpful in achieving that overall bookings number, or let's say new opportunities created numbers. Also, we can anticipate what can come up as an obstacle throughout our course to getting to our goal, and having goals will help us strive to get there. So in summary, how can goals be helpful to us is keeping us in mind on where we're going and energized to reach milestones in between of where we are to where we want to get to. Also, having goals keeps us accountable and each team member accountable for their portion of getting the whole team to success. A Harvard University study found that having goals actually increases motivation, and that students who had a goal-oriented plan are actually perform 30% better than those who didn't. And a 30% performance increase is actually a great one. So imagine what a 30% increase in performance would lead your overall team to. A lot of times, however, we can have goals set, and I've had customers who have goals set and, perhaps might be struggling or might find that goals are not working. And these are some common reasons that I've seen of goals, reasons why goals are not working. It could be because goals are not set on the correct metrics. And it could also be that goals are set on too many metrics. Coming in and seeing a whole list of different goals that we're working towards and seeing either not track or not being able to track them definitely can contribute to not getting to your end set goal. So last part is not having a clear plan for accountability as well as recognition for job well done. So as humans, we love to see where our progress is going. And if we are doing well, sometimes it's hard for individual reps or whole teams to not be feeling like they're being seen and heard. Also, while working with customers, I've heard a few objections to why goals may not be as important or not on top of their radar. And a lot of them are because, let's say we have a quota goal set and that's all that is important. And then we also see that goals take up time. And since we haven't been data-driven in the past, we don't know where to start. So in this session, what I would love to accomplish with you guys is actually providing some strategies on how to make goals easier to set and track and get you to success. Within goals, the important thing that we want to keep track of is the actual metrics that we're setting goals on. So in the book, Cracking the Sales Management Code, by Jason Jordan and Michelle Mazzana, we break down goals or metrics into three main categories, and that's sales activities, sales objectives, and business results. And what distinguishes these three from each other is being able to see how much we can actually influence them. So what we mentioned earlier in terms of having a specific quota or bookings number that we're reaching to, that's actually a business result. And business results are completely unmanageable. You can't single-handedly, each member of the team or you as a manager or a VP cannot actually change the outcome. That is what it is at the end of the quarter. However, we have sales objectives and sales activities that are much more manageable, which we'll go into in the next slide. So we went through business results. That would be your bookings or your booking source for SDRs. Then we have sales objectives. So sales objectives here are going to be things like ops created, ops owned, sales accepted ops, or average selling price. These ones are more manageable, but the most manageable ones are the sales activities, which are meetings on calendar, emails sent, calls, and accounts touched. All of these metrics that I've mentioned are actually ones within Atrium, and we'll be able to set goals on any or all of them within Atrium itself. So the best way that we can think of setting goals here is, let's say we are trying to get to a specific bookings number. We would try to see, okay, is there for each specific rep that's on the team, is there something that's hindering them from getting to that goal? And what are some sales objectives that we could set? So let's say bookings are low and we see that win rate is lower or the amount of ops created is lower. Then we could go in and check, okay, what's contributing to the ops created? What are the drivers for ops created and how can we set specific goals there? So we could then set a goal for meetings on calendar, email sent to then drive that sales objective behavior. How Atrium actually functions and the metrics that we have within Atrium are routed in the same way that I've just explained between sales objective, business results, and sales activities. What we see here is that Atrium allows from a focus on business results to the actual underlying activity metrics behind it. So for AEs, this means moving past the result metric, or in this case, it would be our bookings, and then to the underlying sales objectives and sales activities that contribute to it. This helps managers isolate where each rep might be having trouble and provide insights on how to coach them to success. An example would be if we're seeing, we mentioned in the slide earlier, but if we're seeing a lower win rate, we could trace it back to the time between touches or the amount of contacts touched and how to set goals on those metrics. This would be similar for SDRs. So here we're walking backwards from the pipeline generated to the total amount of pipeline value and ops accepted. Let's say a rep has a lower number of ops submitted here, then we could just set goals on the contacts per account or time between touches, as we know that they're the drivers that are getting us to the overall ops submitted. So this is a breakdown of related business results, sales objective, and sales activities per role within Atrium. And these are actual metrics that you can set goals on in Atrium. And these are the ones that we actually recommend taking a look at. And also, you can work with each one of your CSMs to go through these numbers and start adding them into Atrium, which we'll go through in a second. So the next part here, now we know what we want to set goals on, right? We want to set goals on sales activities and choose sales objectives that will get us to our business results through our sales activities. So now we're at the point where it's saying, okay, cool, I know what I want to set goals on, but where do I get those numbers from? And we have a few different ways that we can do that. First, we have Atrium's goal setting sheet. Next, we can look at within Atrium how reps have historically performed. The reps who are getting to the goals that we want to get to, how have they performed, and are there certain levels that we can set for the whole team? And then we can look at industry averages. So first, we have a goal setting sheet. So most of you are probably have gone through an Atrium implementation or are currently going through one, and you've seen this goal setting sheet. Here we walk backwards from the current quota and add in current team values for ops worked, win rate, ASP to see if the current levels of performance that the team is at is on track to hitting your number. We can then set goals to make sure that we keep everyone on track and set activity goals for some of those sales activities, such as mail meetings on calendar. I'm just going to actually jump into what the goal setting sheet looks like to go through this. So we went through it for AEs. We also do have a section for SDRs. Within AEs, you'll see that actually these numbers are grabbed from your own instance for the number of ops worked, your win rate, and what we're trying to understand if you're tracking towards is your actual annual quota. So we'll see based on the current performance of the team where you'll be headed based on the sales velocity formula, and compare that to if that's going on track for annual quota. So this really helps us being able to say, hey, we're actually quite a bit behind, and perhaps we'll need to change our win rate. What will happen if we change this win rate to, let's say, 45%? And now we're actually on track to setting goal, to getting to our quota. This is really helpful in actually being able to plan ahead and, sorry, my screen is pretty large, so I just went ahead and zoomed in. But being able to actually track to see where you're going to, and then from here being able to be like, well, that win rate made a significant change. Is it feasible to change our win rate to 45%? Or what goals based on those metrics metric drivers tree that we saw, what activity goals will we need to set in order to get that win rate up? And then from there, we walk backwards to saying, okay, based on our quota goals and how current team members are performing, historical averages of how much each meeting is bringing in bookings, how many meetings will each rep need to have on their calendar per week? And then we can set goals on there and start tracking them. We have a similar sheet for SDRs, and here we're walking backwards from the amount of sales accepted opportunity goals per month, and walking towards, what is the acceptance rate, and then how many meetings, emails, and calls will be required per week in order to get to that sales accepted opportunity goal. So another way that we can do this, which we kind of mentioned in that goal setting sheet, was to look at historical rep performance. The great thing with Atrium is for any metric within Atrium, this one we're looking at meetings on calendar, you can take a look at what performance was like for a specific time period. And from there, you can take a look at where the average has been also. So setting a goal at average is a great practice as well, but taking into consideration, looking at, okay, which reps might be bringing down the average, or are there reps that are bringing down the average that we could raise it, is also a good thing to keep in mind. We also have a list of industry standards. Atrium, working with many sales managers like you guys, has compiled a list of suggested goals that you can take a look at as you're building out your own goals for your org. So then once we have the metrics we want to set goals on, the actual levels that we want to set the goals on, the next thing is keeping people accountable. And this is a big one, because having goals set and choosing the levels, but not actually reinforcing that can really lead to the goals as if the goals weren't there in the first place. So within Atrium, we have a few great features that will actually allow us to go ahead and track this. The first is through Atrium goal tracking. So we have a specific piece of the platform that allows you to go ahead, add in goals, and also track where each team member is at. Next, we can send out distributions with the particular metrics in them. And then lastly, we can discuss goal progression in one-on-ones. These are just some ideas. Within Atrium, there's many different ways, and also in your own sales motion, we can definitely find other ways to reinforce these goals. So the first way is to add Atrium goals and then add them to agendas. You'll see this view within Atrium of how progress towards goal is going for each team member. I'm just going to hop into Atrium now. So what we're seeing here is this is for an SDR team, and we're seeing goals being set on accounts touched, email engagement rate, new contacts touched, mainly here. So what we're seeing is on the top for the Dijon team, what is the overall tracking towards goals? So it looks like, people are doing pretty well and we're on track for most of the goals. If you hover over any of these, you'll see what the goal is set at, what is the actual number that we're at, and what is the overall status. If you go down a little bit, you'll see each one of your team members and how they're tracking towards goals. So for example, if we take a look here, it looks like Jackson is a little farther behind than the other team members on getting to those goals. This would be a good opportunity for you to mention during your one-on-one, hey, Jackson, I saw that with your accounts touched and new contacts touched, you're a little bit behind compared to the rest of the team. Is there anything that I can help with? Are there any strategies that we can deploy in order to get you to these goals? It's also very easy within Atrium to add a new goal. So we've had these added in already, but if we were to add a goal, we would just click on the team or the individual, which we'll go in a second, but we can click on the team. Then we would select a metric. So let's say we wanted to have contacts touched per account. And within what these metrics are going to be are all 100, more than 100 metrics within Atrium. So you can set a goal on any of them, as well as custom tasks that you imported as well. So we can go into the actual metric, then we can choose either a team average or a team total. A team average would set a goal on each individual, so you wouldn't have to go in and add one individually for each rep or team. And then we also have team total, which would be like if you had an overall bookings goal. You could add that in here, add in the goal, and then add in the monthly, weekly, or quarterly timeframe. Once that's added in, you would see it up top here and for each individual. Let's say for Foxy, she's quite new and you might want to change her goal. Then we would go ahead and edit a goal and then choose whichever goal that we set. Let's say we changed for accounts touched, we would change that goal here and then save it. One thing to also keep in mind within Atrium is that we have specific ramping goals. So we have different ways to assign ramping goals. And one way is through Atrium's own ramping logic, which will discount the original goal. Those settings will be between goal ramping preferences. So if we click here, we'll see that either Atrium is going to automatically prorate goals during the ramping period. You can also choose to not have any goals set, or you can go in and add in your own goals during the ramp period. Any questions so far? Anything that I can answer, or any part of the goal setting or distribution parts that I can go through more? Okay. So next, what we could do, I'm just going to jump back in here. So next, what we could do is actually distribute those goals. So when you have goals set, you're going to see them between the goal setting platform in Atrium. Next, you're going to get goal updates periodically every month, every week, and every quarter to alert you, hey, the team is at this percentage of reaching their goal. From there, you could go ahead and send over those reports to the team, but a better way to do it is actually set up some distributions to go out to the team in the actual dashboards. So within Atrium, as you guys probably know, is that you're able to create any type of dashboard that you would like. So one dashboard that I really like, and we obviously use Atrium ourselves, so I found really helpful, is having those key sales activities or sales objectives that we're setting goals on, and actually providing some adding those metrics into one dashboard and then sending it out weekly to the team to show how progress has been towards those goals. So we could see that in, let's say we would name this like what happened last week. We would be able to see these are the amount of ops created, these are the amount of ops created this month, these are the amount of ops created last week, accounts touched, email engagement rate, and new contacts touched. What this helps with is just provide some, engagement for the actual team of saying, hey, like we're supposed to get to 30 ops created this month, but Jackson looks like he's around 16. It is pretty early in the month, so we'll see how progress goes, but everyone on the team has clarity around what the goal is and how they're on track to get there. Next, we have ops created here last week. We have accounts touched last week. So it looks like the goal for last week was about 250. And, we do have a few team members who are close to getting there, but perhaps for General Hologram and Queen Grimhild, not sure how to pronounce that, they might need some work. And this might be something that you could actually bring up in one-on-ones and say, hey, like your accounts touched, review why accounts touched goal is important. I think that's another thing is also when we're creating goals and setting them is to include the logic of why they're important and making sure that the team is clear on that, perhaps in the team meeting when, especially since the beginning of the year now, choosing these metrics, including why they're important, and then actually reinforcing that with these kinds of dashboards that go out, and then furthermore reinforcing them even more by following up in like one-on-ones and team meetings on where goal progress is. We then have a goal on email engagement rate. It looks like Mayor Lionheart is really killing it here. And for email engagement rate, what would be interesting here is to see, hey, Lionheart, what are you sending out in your emails that is providing, 10% engagement rate? Is there a copy that we could then be, furthermore sharing with the rest of the team so that the rest of the team can have similar results. So that's another thing that goals are able to do. They're able to illuminate, and especially with Atrium, they're able to illuminate like who's doing well, and if there are any strategies that we can borrow from those top performers and spread across the team as well. You know, if we don't have an idea of these metrics, which metrics are important and who's doing well, then we won't have an idea of who might need some extra help. You might have your own gut feeling about who's doing well, but having these metrics provides some kind of you know, solid ground to work from and to share with the team as well. So next we have contacts touched here. So it looks like on this metric, everyone is doing really well and is hitting that goal. This could be something that we could take a look at of saying, okay, is maybe we could have this goal higher, or perhaps it's okay at the level that it is, but also providing some kudos to the team and saying, hey, you know, we also have a whole alerts side of there. That will allow us to send out some kudos feeds and saying, hey guys, like you are all doing well on your contacts touched goal. So we discussed this a little bit, but in one-on-ones, having goals or referencing the goals that we set in goals and in one-on-ones as well as team meetings can be really helpful. So how we can do this is first, as we described, sending out those distributions in dashboards, and also just including them in the calendar invite. This makes a world of difference to actually have first have an agenda and then include the reports that we'll be looking at in that specific meeting can be really helpful. And what you'll see over time is that your baselines will change as you set goals and you make sure that we, you know, keep each other accountable for them. You'll see that the team will be, you know, improving or changing their performance. So in this type, this would be actually be the opposite of what we want to see. We would want to see those meetings on calendar go up. But in general, you would want to see, you know, how's the team doing? And that's really easy within Atrium as well, to just hop in, see how everyone is doing and see what's the tracking towards goals. So there's some, for me, thinking of data-driven managers, we would want to decide what activities lead to success. We would want to set expectations on those activities, hold reps accountable, give good coaching insights, and then achieve that goal. Oops. So I'm going to hop over into Atrium a little bit more. And we can go through some more parts of the platform. If there's anything specific here that, and a feature, a new feature that's come out, or anything that, you know, is related to goal setting or not, I'm also happy to take this time to jump into a quick Q&A session and guide you guys through. We also have the option to invite any of you to actually work through any questions that you have live with me as well. So just let us know and we can make that happen. Awesome. I'm going to head over to how we would set up a kudos feed for your team to alert us of those goals that we chose. The goals that we chose, the metrics that we chose, how we could create a kudos feed for the team. So we would head over to filters. This is actually a new view. I'm not sure if many of you have noticed, but we recently have released folders, which are actually a game changer, which allow you to add in dashboards, your alert feeds, and app health views into one view, and then you could share them and bookmark them with the team. But we would head over to filters here, and let's say we have chosen, let's go ahead and choose a team here. Which was the team that we were working with? It was Dijon. So we're choosing the Dijon team. And we see Mayor Lionheart, we saw this ourselves as well, was that he was doing really well with ops created. And now we have a few metrics that we can choose, right? And this is where we would choose those metrics that we have chosen are important to us. So we have accounts touched, average selling price, bookings, contacts touched, emails sent. We also have a Gong integration, so we could have goals set on Gong like talk ratios or so. And you'll see the rest of the list. Next, we have the type of alerts that we can send out to. So within Atrium, there's actually 4 types of alerts. The first one is how an individual is doing compared to their historical self. The second one is how an individual is doing compared to their peers. So anyone that's in the same discipline and segment, which is actually what is reported. In the beginning of setting up Atrium, you'll have each rep and their corresponding discipline and segment. And then next, we have how an individual is tracking towards goals, which is super important to us in this session. So we could just have goal alerts in this view. And then lastly, we have strategy insights, which are cause and effect alerts, which show you these are the activities that are leading in this end result. So here we already have this clicked, but in general, you're going to have positive, warning, and neutral alerts. So we could just X out and just have positive alerts here. And we could just have it based on, let's say we just wanted goal alerts and ramping goal alerts. Actually, not a good idea. Let's select some of these back. We didn't actually have any alerts there because probably most of the team isn't ramping anymore in this sense, or we didn't have too many goal related alerts. So now we have a feed that could be sent out to the actual team and provide some kudos of who's doing well. We have the baboon having 78% more new opportunities in the trailing 30 days than a typical ramping employee. And the thing is, within Atrium, we have goals that are set, then we have a dashboard. The nice thing with alerts that I love is that we're actually taking that dashboard and providing you like mathematical insights of how everyone is doing and comparing to each other, which you yourself could do if you were constantly calculating everything, but it really simplifies things for you. So I see we have a question from Joe. I noticed that on the meetings on calendar report is often not always accurate. Is that because the platform is including some types of meetings, internal, or those not linked to SFDC? Or is it times, for example, sometimes a rep will have with 12 meetings, but Atrium reports 5. So the meetings on calendar, if there's any discrepancy, and this can definitely happen, what is helpful to do here is first reach out to your CSM. Second off, we'll just want some screenshots of what we're seeing within Atrium, and then what we're seeing within, let's say, where did you say, within Salesforce. We'll want to see where we're comparing it to, and we can do an analysis there. So first, the platform, there are some domains that Atrium automatically excludes, which is actually set up by when the account was started. So we'll want to check, are there any domains that are excluded, which could lead to meetings on calendar being different. Sorry, just reading the question over again to make sure I answer all aspects of it. Yeah, internal meetings would definitely not be included. So that would be in one of the domains that would be blocked. So that could definitely be a reason for this discrepancy. And if we wanted internal meetings to be included, we could also do that by just removing that block domain. Time zones, for time zones, there shouldn't be too much of a difference there. I haven't seen that contribute. But Atrium does take a little bit of time to refresh. So it could also be, if this is not constant, if this just happened one time, then we'd want to check back in a few hours to make sure that Atrium has updated and has the correct meeting count there. Does that answer your question, Joe? Anything I can go further in? Just say in the chat and I can dive deeper. Awesome. So going back into, I'm just going to go through the rest of our slides here. So we went through what can contribute to being a data-driven manager, and that's where all in Atrium here is to be more data-driven and get our team to the goals that we want to achieve. We have Tammy from Launch Darkly, who has been, who gave us this comment on Atrium. So she says that Atrium infuses every part of my sales organization with data-driven excellence. It helps my busy sales managers stay on top of leading indicators of success across all their reps and never get surprised. It also makes pipeline reviews extremely efficient thanks to data-driven inspection on key op-level health indicators. And generally, I know that my managers are managing with metrics that I want them to be, even if I can't be with them constantly. So this is really helpful to dig in here a little bit. What Tammy is really alluding to is Atrium being able to set goals on certain metrics that everyone has visibility to within Atrium. So whether you're a second level manager or first level manager, you'll be able to go in here and see what the progress is and provide insights and coaching insights to the team, and in addition to like the alerts that we're able to set up as well. So some of the pain points that we addressed today are how to be goal-oriented, how to decide which metrics to set goals on, choosing the levels goals should be set on, as well as how to keep the team accountable and how to track goal attainment. I would love to answer any questions, anything that come up, anything else that I can answer. Feel free to chat it over. Awesome. So one thing also is we love, I mentioned cracking the sales management code earlier, but we love our books and we would love to send you any books that you're interested in. We have Founding Sales, Cracking the Sales Management Code, and Leading Sales Development. So Founding Sales would be great for anyone in startup sales and management. Cracking the Sales Management Code would be great for advanced sales management leaders. I would actually definitely advise you guys to reach out for the Cracking the Sales Management Code, because I love it myself. And I think the principles that are included in the book are really helpful in driving your own usage for Atrium. And then lastly, we have Leading the Sales Management Development, which is for advanced SDR management. So these are actually a series of office hours from the CS team. We have the next one coming up on March 3rd, which is going to go through ramping, how to track ramp, how to see how each individual is tracking towards certain metrics and getting to success. Then we'll have one on insights on internal meetings, so one-on-ones, pipe reviews, and forecasting. How can Atrium be helpful in those? And then we have one on data-driven culture with driving a data-driven culture through integrations with Atrium, Slack, and email. And then lastly, we have one that will be on April 14th. So we would love you guys to join and participate in those. I'd love to, answer any other questions that anyone has and go from there. Any other questions? One thing I realized that I actually didn't cover was for the actual dashboards that we're in. So we've come in here, we've created one, but the way that we actually get the way that we actually get this out to the team is we'll click on broadcast and then we'll actually add in the team member's email address, or we could also send it via Slack to any channel. So that's pretty important. Keeping people accountable is on top of actually creating the dashboards, adding in the people and sending it out to them. And it takes one thing off your plate to having to, remind them on their progress to goals. Awesome. So this is what I had to cover today with you guys. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next one. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to any your CSM at Atrium for any questions this might have raised, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for joining.